Mario drew the short stick. The whole room erupted in cheers. Whoever gets the short stick has to be the winner's follower for 7 days, no backing out. Before I could speak, Virginia was already smiling as she pressed the stick into my hand. You've been spoiled since you were a kid. This is nothing to you. I stared at her. You did that on purpose. She didn't deny it. Mickey stood up, his voice trembling. Don't make things hard for Mario. I'll take the loss for this round. She turned back to him immediately. No need. Don't overthink it. My phone vibrated. A message from her popped up. Mickey is insecure. He can't handle being looked down on. You're resilient. Help him out. I didn't reply. Another message followed right away. As long as you agree, I'll listen to you from now on. I looked up at her. Her expression was calm, as if everything was only natural. I set my glass down. What if I don't agree? Her face turned cold. Mario, if you can't handle losing, then our marriage is off. The air froze instantly. Everyone was staring at me. She thought I would back down. After all, the wedding was next month. I stood up. Since you're using the engagement as leverage, in front of everyone I took off the ring and placed it on the table. This marriage is cancelled. Chapter 01. That day of the company retreat, I hadn't planned to attend. The marketing department's quarterly results had just come out, so good they were almost blinding. I knew what was mixed into that good, but I said nothing. I'm Mario, 30 years old, one of the company's founders, holding a decent share. On the surface, I carry the title of department manager. To outsiders, I'm always mild-tempered, easy to talk to, rarely slamming the table in meetings. But the real decision-making power has never been on the conference table. The retreat was held at a resort on the outskirts of the city. We booked an entire banquet hall floor. The lighting was warm yellow. Crates of beer kept coming in, and the younger staff were especially lively. Virginia sat on my left. She's the head of the marketing department, and my fiancée. In others' eyes, she's gentle, considerate, always smiling when she speaks. Only I know that what she's best at is turning softness into a weapon. On her right sat Mickey, a marketing assistant. 27, from an ordinary background, soft-spoken. At work he always kept his head down, like he was afraid of stepping on someone's shadow. But I've seen the look in his eyes when he raised his head in the parking lot. There was nothing submissive about it. After several rounds of drinks, someone suggested a game of drawing sticks. Whoever gets the short stick has to be the winner's follower for 7 days. Cheers broke out everywhere. I wasn't interested, but I didn't refuse either. Virginia stood up to host, smiling naturally. We're all colleagues. It's only fun if there's some excitement. She handed the container of sticks to me. Mario, you go first. Her voice was soft, almost like she was acting cute. I reached out and drew one. Short stick. Laughter exploded around me. I looked up at her. Her gaze stayed on me for only a second before shifting to Mickey. He lowered his head and said softly, maybe we should just drop it. Mario is the department manager. Don't make things hard for him. That's what he said, but his hands didn't move. Suddenly Virginia stood up, her voice carrying a hint of grievance. Mario is the department manager after all. Everyone, let's not make things difficult for him. Let's just say I lost this round. I'll take the punishment. The room fell silent for a moment. On the surface, she was helping me out. In reality, she was telling everyone. I drew the short stick, yet couldn't even afford to lose a simple game. My phone vibrated. A message from her. Mickey is insecure. He can't stand being looked down on. You've been spoiled since childhood. You're strong under pressure. It's just 7 days of being a follower, not a big deal for you. As long as you're willing to help, I'll listen to you from now on. I stared at the message and let out a small laugh. She's always like this. Dressing favoritism up as kindness, turning manipulation into trust. I didn't reply. Mickey stood up again, his voice even softer. Virginia, you don't have to do this. I can handle it. But as he spoke, his eyes flicked toward me. That wasn't insecurity. That was testing me. Seeing that I didn't move, Virginia's expression slowly turned cold. Then she spoke out loud in front of everyone. Mario, if you can't handle losing, then our marriage is over. The glass tapped lightly against the table, making a crisp sound. Everyone around us froze. Someone tried to persuade me, Mario, don't be impulsive. Another whispered, it's just a game. Don't blow it up. Virginia looked at me, the corner of her lips slightly raised. She knew me too well. Every time we argued in the past, as long as she brought up the engagement, I would take a step back. She thought this time would be the same. Chapter 2. I picked up my glass and took a sip. The alcohol burned. I set the glass down. Since you're using the engagement as a bargaining chip, then this marriage is cancelled. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Someone dropped their chopsticks onto the floor. Mickey's head snapped up. The smile on Virginia's face froze. What do you mean? Her voice tightened. Exactly what it sounds like. I stood up and looked at her. The engagement is void. Starting now. She stared at me as if trying to figure out whether I was acting. Stop messing around. I'm not. My voice was calm. Didn't you say the marriage was over? Then I'm just giving you what you want. Her face gradually turned pale. Mario, calm down. Her tone softened like she was coaxing me. I suddenly found it a little amusing. She thought I was acting on impulse. But I had been waiting for this day for a long time. At that moment, Mickey stepped forward, trying to ease the tension. Mario, don't let me affect you too. I looked at him. This has nothing to do with you. I simply believe a marriage shouldn't be controlled or manipulated. If you're already using breaking off an engagement to control someone, now then after marriage it'll just become threats of divorce, over and over, an endless cycle. Isn't that right? His lips moved, but he said nothing more. The murmurs around us grew louder. People began whispering, is this for real? Aren't they getting married by the end of the year? Virginia finally couldn't hold herself together. Mario, are you saying all this just to embarrass me? Embarrass you? I looked at her. When you shoved that short stick into my hand just now, did you think about embarrassing me? She froze. For a split second I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. Very quickly she regained her composure. You're overreacting. I didn't respond. I picked up my coat. You all carry on with the retreat. I'm leaving. As I walked out of the banquet hall, I heard someone chasing after me. Hurried footsteps. Mario, it was her. I didn't turn back. The night breeze was a little cold. The lights in the parking lot stretched my shadow long. I got into the car and shut the door. My phone vibrated again. A message from her. You still have time to take it back. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Then I replied, tomorrow the company will receive a formal notice. Sent. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat. Started the engine. The moment the headlights came on, I suddenly felt lighter. Some relationships look like they belong to two people. But in reality they've long been maintained by just one. She thought I would keep backing down. She thought the engagement was her permanent leverage. What she didn't know, I had already walked away from the table. The car drove out of the resort. In the rearview mirror, the lights faded into the distance. This game, she hadn't even realized it was already over. Chapter 3. I had just backed the car out of the parking space when someone yanked hard at the driver's door. Locked. Virginia came running over in her heels, breathing fast, one hand pressed against the window. I rolled it down. What exactly are you trying to do? Her tone had lost all the composure she had in the banquet hall. I looked at her, not answering right away. The parking lot lights were harsh and pale. Her makeup was slightly smudged. The powder at the corner of her eyes had been blurred by sweat. What you did today, you were trying to embarrass me. I was just responding to you. She gritted her teeth. That was said in the heat of the moment. I heard it very clearly. She grabbed the car door handle, lowering her voice. Stop making a scene. We all have work tomorrow and everyone's watching. Take back what you said and we'll pretend nothing happened. I looked at her hand. The engagement ring was still there. The engagement is cancelled. HR will issue a formal notice tomorrow. My tone was calm. She froze for a second, then let out a laugh. Who are you trying to scare? The company belongs to the board. Do you really think you can issue a notice with just one sentence? In the distance, Mickey stood under a streetlight. He didn't come over, just watched quietly. The helplessness he showed earlier in the banquet hall was gone, replaced by a restrained sense of satisfaction. I looked back at Virginia. You can take it as a joke. She frowned. Mario, since when did you become this childish? Since the day you started using our engagement as leverage. Her face darkened. You really want to do this? You were the one who started it. I rolled the window back up. She knocked twice on the glass. I ignored her and stepped on the gas. In the rearview mirror she stood there while Mickey walked over and spoke to her in a low voice. They stood very close. I didn't look a second time. It was almost 10 when I got home. This apartment, the one meant to be our marital home, was bought 2 years ago. Good location. She chose the interior design. Back then she had held up sample designs, asking excitedly if I liked them. I nodded and said it was fine. In truth, I never cared much about style. I walked in and hung up my suit. There was a safe in the study. I opened it and placed the property documents for the apartment and the company equity agreements inside. Locked it. My phone lit up. Virginia was calling. I answered. Are you still upset? Her voice had softened. Upset you were so impulsive earlier. Did you drink too much? I'm not drunk. Silence lingered on the other end for 2 seconds. Mario, we've been together for 3 years. Are you really canceling the engagement over a game? It's not about the game. Then what is it about? I didn't answer. Her tone suddenly turned aggrieved. Mickey is just an assistant. He has nothing. Do you really have to compete with him? I let out a faint laugh. I'm not competing with him. Then why are you targeting him? Who said I was targeting him? She paused, clearly caught off guard. I continued, you'll find out tomorrow. Her breathing grew uneven. What do you mean, get some rest? I hung up. After my shower, I saw a reply in my email. The HR director had confirmed receipt of my internal request regarding the change in engagement status and the audit of the marketing department. The wording was polite. I closed the computer. At 9 a.m. the next day, a notice was posted on the company's internal system. Effective immediately, a phased financial audit and review of the marketing department will be conducted. At the same time, a statement regarding the termination of my engagement with Virginia was attached below the announcement. The wording was concise. No emotion. At 10 o'clock sharp, the marketing department floor had noticeably quieted. I had just entered my office when my assistant knocked. Manager Mario, Director Virginia would like to see you. Let her in. The door opened. Virginia walked in, her face cold. Have you lost your mind? She threw her phone onto my desk. An audit? What are you trying to do? I flipped open a folder without looking up. Routine review. Since when are you so diligent? I closed the file and looked at her. The marketing department is a key division. Clear accounts are only normal. She lowered her voice. Are you taking revenge on me? I'm fulfilling my responsibilities. She let out a bitter laugh. Don't forget, I'm the head of the marketing department. For now. Her expression froze. What do you mean during the audit? Period. All budget approvals are suspended. I'll take over temporarily. She stared at me. For the first time a crack appeared in her composure. You planned this all along? Chapter 4. I didn't answer. Her breathing was uneven. What you said last night, about canceling the engagement. Were you serious? Yes. She fell silent for a few seconds, then suddenly changed her tone. Mario, let's talk privately. Don't escalate this to the company level. It's already at the company level. You really have to go this far? Everything you said last night, everyone in the company heard it. She opened her mouth, but didn't continue. At that moment there was another knock on the door. Mickey stood at the entrance. May I come in? I nodded. He walked in, still keeping his head slightly lowered, looking obedient as ever. I heard the marketing department is going to be audited. I'm worried it might affect project progress. Just cooperate. If this is because of last night, I can make a public apology. As he said that, his eyes were quietly observing my reaction. I leaned back in my chair. You think I'm targeting you? He waved his hands quickly. No, I'm just worried about the team. Virginia cut in. Mario, if this continues, the department's morale will collapse. If the accounts are clean, morale won't collapse. The air froze. Mickey's fingers tightened slightly. Our marketing department has always performed well. Good performance doesn't mean there are no problems. His face turned a little pale. Then we'll fully cooperate. After saying that, he looked at Virginia. She didn't say anything more. The two of them left the office together. The moment the door closed, I noticed the stiffness in her shoulders. At noon, the finance department began pulling contracts and reimbursement records from the marketing department over the past 6 months. The atmosphere in the office grew heavy. Employees whispered among themselves. I didn't participate in any of it. At 3 p.m., HR sent a follow-up notice. During the audit period, the head of the marketing department must submit all authorization records. Virginia stormed into my office again. You're even auditing my authorizations company policy. You've never interfered in this before. Now I need to. She stared at me for a long time. Are you really going to break up with me? Yes. Her voice suddenly dropped. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. She stood there for a few seconds, then turned and left. The door closed with force. In the evening, Mickey was called aside by finance for questioning in the hallway. When he came out, his face looked pale. When he saw me, he paused. For the first time, there was no trace of provocation in his eyes. Only tension. I walked back to my office. Outside the window, the sky was growing dark. My phone vibrated. A message from Virginia. Let's talk. Not at the office. I glanced at it and didn't reply. Some things no longer needed to be said in private. She thought I would still hold on to the past. She thought that as long as she softened, I would take a step back. But this time, there was no step back for me. The announcement had already been made. The audit had already begun. Everyone could see it. And finally she realized, this wasn't me losing control of my emotions. I had been prepared all along. Chapter 5. The marketing department audit entered its 3rd day. The atmosphere in the office was even more oppressive than before. Finance and internal control staff sat in the meeting room as stacks of contracts were carried in. I didn't deliberately keep watch. At 10 a.m., the weekly company meeting began. This was a fixed meeting attended by all department heads. It was usually relaxed. Today was clearly different. The meeting room was full. Virginia arrived early, sitting by the window. Her makeup was flawless, her expression restrained, no trace of last night's agitation. Mickey sat beside her, flipping through documents with careful movements. I was the last to enter. Sat down. The meeting began. After the operations department finished reporting, it was the marketing department's turn. Virginia stood up, her voice steady. Regarding the recent audit of the marketing department, I'd like to make a brief statement. She glanced at me. The team has been pushing projects under high pressure. There may be minor flaws in certain processes, but the overall performance speaks for itself. As she spoke, there was a faint note of grievance in her tone. If personal emotions are affecting the department's operations, I'm willing to take responsibility. Someone in the room coughed lightly. It was a clever statement. She didn't name anyone, but it naturally directed suspicion toward me. I didn't interrupt. She continued. The personal matters between Mario and me shouldn't involve the company. Several gazes shifted toward me. I picked up my glass of water, then set it down. At that moment, Mickey stood up. Leaders, if this audit is because of me, I'm willing to resign voluntarily to avoid affecting the team. He sounded sincere, even a little choked up. I'm just an assistant. I don't want my personal situation to bring doubt onto the marketing department. A few department managers exchanged glances. Someone whispered, the young guy has a sense of responsibility. Virginia reached out and pulled him slightly. Don't be impulsive. The coordination between them was seamless, as if they were the misunderstood side. I opened the folder in front of me. Are you done? The room fell silent. Virginia looked at me. Do you have anything to add? I pushed a few printed pages to the center of the table. These are the marketing department's expense details over the past 6 months. My tone was flat. Ad placements, channel rebates, outsourced planning costs. The numbers look very good. I paused briefly. Also very concentrated. The finance director looked up. Mario, what exactly are you implying? I turned on the projector. A spreadsheet appeared on the screen. From June to August, marketing promotion expenses increased by 40% year-over-year. But during the same period, the growth rate of signed clients was only 15%. The sound of pages flipping filled the room. Virginia frowned. Market competition has intensified. Rising costs are normal. Normal. I nodded. Then let's look at the details. I moved to the next page. In July, 3 outsourcing contracts totaled 1.8 million. The vendor name is the same. The contact person is the same. The registered address is the same office building. Mickey's fingers froze. Virginia's expression tightened. This is a planning company our department consistently works with, she explained. Quickly. A common partner in the industry. Is that so? I pulled up a screenshot of the company's registration information. This company was established less than a year ago with a registered capital of $500,000. One of the shareholders is Mickey's college classmate. The air froze instantly. Several people looked up at once. Mickey's face turned pale. He's just a friend. His voice became slightly urgent. I wasn't involved in any fund allocation. I looked at him. I didn't say you allocated funds. I'm simply pointing out the related party connection. The finance director frowned. Who approved these contracts? Virginia answered immediately. I authorized them. Her tone was firm. The project needed to move quickly. There wasn't time for price comparisons. Then we'll review everything together. My voice remained calm. Since you authorized it, the audit will be more comprehensive. She looked at me. For the first time, unease surfaced in her eyes. You're suspecting me. I'm questioning the data. Chapter 6. No one spoke in the meeting room. The operations director said quietly, if there's a risk of related party transactions, it must be clarified. Mickey remained standing, his palms visibly sweating. I can cooperate with the investigation. He tried to stay composed. But I hope no one is misled. I didn't look at him again. Misled. I flipped to the next page. 2 events in August. The venue costs doubled. Compared to the same period last year. Same hotel, same scale. Explanation. Virginia pressed her lips together. Prices have gone up. Someone in the room sighed softly. The finance director spoke. Mario, where did you retrieve these figures from? The financial system. The original documents are still under audit. I nodded. This is just a preliminary comparison. I closed my laptop. I'm not drawing conclusions. But the issues are already here. Virginia finally couldn't hold it in. You're trying to humiliate me in public. If you think data is humiliation, then the problem is even more serious. Her face turned pale. Our performance is real. No one is denying that. But the cost structure is abnormal. The tension in the room tightened. Mickey suddenly spoke. If Mario doesn't trust us, then I'm willing to take responsibility. Take responsibility for what? I looked straight at him. Did you sign the contracts? He choked. No. Did you approve the funds? No. Then what exactly are you taking responsibility for? His throat moved. No words came out. Several board members exchanged glances. Virginia took a deep breath. Mario, what exactly do you want? I looked at her. Transparency. Clarity. No hidden agendas. Her eyes flickered. Are you implying that Mickey and I have an inappropriate relationship? A faint stir spread through the room. My tone remained steady. I'm only discussing the company. Private relationships are not part of today's agenda. That answer cornered her. She could neither admit nor deny. The finance director spoke again. I suggest the marketing department cooperate with a special audit. All related contract payments should be suspended. The operations director nodded. Agreed. The meeting moved into voting. Hands were raised one after another. The result was unquestionable. The special audit was approved. Virginia sat back down, her spine stiff. Mickey lowered his head, his face ashen. The meeting ended. People filed out. She didn't move. As I packed my documents, she suddenly spoke. You're ruthless. I looked up. I'm just settling the accounts. You weren't like this before. Before I trusted you. Her gaze wavered. You think I betrayed you? You know the answer. She didn't say anything else. Mickey walked over, lowering his voice. Mario, I didn't expect you to go this far. There's a lot you didn't expect. He gritted his teeth. If you do this, you'll destroy the marketing department. If the foundation is solid, nothing will be found. He stared at me for a few seconds, then turned and left. The meeting room was empty except for me. The projector screen was still on. Those rows of numbers remained displayed. Cold. Unfeeling. I turned off the equipment. As I walked out, the news had already spread across the office floor. The looks people gave were no longer uncertain like the past 2 days. Now there was a clear divide. Some had started reviewing contracts. Some went to finance voluntarily to verify records. Virginia stood behind the glass door, phone pressed to her ear, her face pale. She used to stand at the center of everything. But now, for the first time, she stood fully exposed under the light with nowhere to hide from the truth in the numbers. Chapter 7. That night after the meeting, I had just gotten home and changed out of my shirt when the doorbell rang. I didn't open it immediately. Through the peephole, it was Virginia. No makeup, hair loosely tied back, a light-colored trench coat. Different from the sharp, controlled version of her in the meeting room, she looked tired now. I opened the door. She stood there without stepping in. "Let's talk." Her voice was low. I stepped aside to let her in. The living room lights were bright, yet she remained by the entrance, not even taking off her shoes. "About the audit. Can we pause it for now, straight to the point?" "No," she looked up at me. "Do you really have to take things this far? The facts are already there." She bit her lip. "What you said in the meeting today, did you plan it all in advance?" I didn't answer that. She took a couple of steps forward and sat at the edge of the sofa. "Mario, we've known each other for 3 years. You shouldn't treat me like this." "How do you think I should treat you?" She fell silent for a moment. "At least don't bring personal matters into the company." "I didn't." Her voice rose. "You're auditing the marketing department. How is that not targeting me? I'm auditing the accounts." She suddenly let out a short laugh. "You never cared about these details before. Before I trusted you." The moment those words landed, she froze. The living room fell quiet. After a few seconds, her tone softened. "I admit, I haven't treated you well lately. That day at the retreat, I acted impulsively. I shouldn't have used the engagement like that." She looked at me, her eyes slightly moist. "But that was just something I said in anger." I sat across from her, not moving closer. "When you handed me the short stick, was that said in anger too?" She froze. "That was just a game. You knew the rules and you switched it beforehand." Her expression changed. "That's nonsense. You prepared the sticks before the draw. Your hand stayed inside the container for 3 seconds. She stared at me. "You paid that much attention?" "I have a habit of noticing details." She didn't deny it this time. The atmosphere slowly cooled. She suddenly stood up and walked toward me. "Fine. Even if I was wrong that day, did it really have to go as far as canceling the engagement? Were you that eager to get rid of me?" I looked at her. "I wasn't trying to get rid of you. You were testing my bottom line." Her voice tightened. "Then what is this now?" "I'm just refusing to play along." She took a step back. "Have you had issues with me for a long time?" I was silent for a few seconds. "How long have you and Mickey been involved?" Her face turned pale instantly. "What do you mean exactly?" "What it sounds like." Her breathing became uneven. "You're accusing me of cheating." "I'm not accusing." Her fingers trembled slightly. "Then what gives you the right to say that?" "The parking lot. The late-night overtime. After the hotel meetings, you left together." My tone was calm. "And those 3 contracts?" She backed up to the sofa and sat down. "You knew all along, earlier than you think." She stared at me blankly. "Then why didn't you say anything? If I had, would you have admitted it?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. "There's nothing between us." "Then why do you keep protecting him?" She fell silent. I continued. "In the meeting when he said he'd resign, your first reaction was to stop him. At the retreat when he kept his head down, you spoke up for him. He's not just an ordinary assistant." Her eyes reddened. "He's capable. Is it wrong for me to value him capable?" I looked at her. "One of the outsourcing company's shareholders is his classmate." "You didn't know?" Her voice dropped. "They're just friends. A friend's company, and you signed 3 high-value contracts in a row. You call that coincidence?" She was silent for a long time. Then she looked up. Even if I handled it poorly, that's just a mistake in judgment at work. Do you have to twist it into something else? I didn't press her further. You came tonight to ask me to withdraw the audit. She looked at me. Yes. And the engagement? I don't want us to break up. Her voice finally softened. The wedding is at the end of the year. Our relatives all know. If you do this, it won't be good for anyone. Not for you either. I looked at her. What you're worried about, the wedding or your position? Her gaze flickered. Both. At least she stopped pretending. I stood up. The audit won't stop. And the engagement won't be restored. She shot to her feet. Mario, do you have to be this heartless? You're the one who was heartless. Her voice trembled. What did I ever do to wrong you? I looked at her. You know that better than anyone. The air froze. Her tears finally fell. I thought you would never leave. You've had everything since you were a child. To you, feelings don't mean much. I just wanted a little control. Couldn't you give in to me just once? I didn't comfort her. I did give in. Many times. She lowered her head. Her shoulders trembled slightly. After a while she wiped her tears. If I cut him off, would you reconsider? I looked at her. Cut him off? You're only thinking of that now. She looked up, a final trace of stubbornness in her eyes. Then what do you want? Business stays business. Personal matters end here. Chapter 8. She stood there for a long time without speaking. From outside the door came the sound of the elevator arriving. She suddenly asked, were you waiting for an opportunity from the very beginning? I didn't deny it. She let out a small laugh. There was no warmth in it. So you're more ruthless than I thought. I'm just clear-headed. She turned and walked toward the door. Her hand paused on the handle for a second. Mario, you'll regret this. That's my business. The door closed. The living room fell silent again. I stood there, not going after her. She had finally realized, this wasn't an emotional argument. It was a structural shift. She was no longer standing in front of me, nor behind me. She had been pushed into the light. And I was no longer shielding her. The next morning, as soon as I entered the office, my assistant told me someone was waiting in the meeting room. I didn't need to ask who. When I pushed the door open, Mickey was sitting at one end of the long table. He wasn't lowering his head over documents like usual. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, hands clasped. His expression was heavier than in the past few days. Mario. His tone was no longer restrained. I sat down. You wanted to see me, yes. He looked straight at me, no longer avoiding my gaze. We need to talk alone. We already are. He paused for 2 seconds, then got straight to the point. Do you really think digging up a few contracts is enough to bring me down? There was suppressed anger in his voice. I looked at him. I'm auditing the marketing department, not targeting you personally. He let out a cold laugh. Stop pretending. You've never liked me. That day at the retreat, you canceled the engagement in front of everyone just to humiliate me. You think because of your status you can decide other people's fate. I didn't engage with his emotions. Get to the point. He leaned forward. The point is, you're too full of yourself. You built this company on your family's resources, and now you speak with shares and power. But the marketing department's performance, that's something we fought for on the front lines. Without Virginia, without me, would you even be sitting where you are today? He spoke rapidly, his eyes filled with long-suppressed resentment. I looked at him, my tone still calm. So you've finally stopped pretending. He froze. What do you mean? An insecure assistant wouldn't say things like that. His expression shifted slightly. People change. You think I'll always be the one serving you tea? I didn't argue. He continued. Virginia is with you because you have good conditions. But what have you given her? You're busy making decisions, busy controlling shares. What she needs is support, understanding. And that's something you can't give. There was no longer any restraint in his voice. I leaned back in my chair. You seem to understand her very well. At least better than you. He stared at me. She'll leave with me sooner or later. You can't live without her. What you're doing now is just to scare her. The room was so quiet that only the hum of the air conditioning remained. I looked at him. You think I'm acting out of anger? Isn't that the case? His eyes were certain. You cancelled the engagement to force her to come back. You're auditing the marketing department to push me out. Once she gives in, you'll stop. I didn't answer. Instead, I took out a document from my briefcase. I pushed it in front of him. Take a good look. He lowered his head. It was the company's equity structure chart. At the top, my name. The shareholding ratio was clear. Board seats listed plainly. The clause assigning approval authority over the marketing department's budget was marked in red. He flipped to the last page. His fingers stiffened. What does this mean? It's simple. Any marketing department budget over $500,000 must go through me. And the final signing authority on contracts is also mine. His face gradually turned pale. But before, Virginia said, what did she say? She said the marketing department was under her control. Being responsible doesn't mean owning it. I looked at him. You thought you were part of the decision-making. But you were only executing. His throat moved. Then why didn't you step in before? Because I gave her space. But space isn't indulgence. He suddenly looked up. So what? You're trying to push both of us out now. If the audit finds issues, there will naturally be consequences. For the first time, panic appeared in his eyes. Those contracts were just handled a bit flexibly. That's how the industry works. No one is clean. I replied calmly. How the industry works doesn't mean the company has to follow. He stood up. If you do this, you'll ruin her. I'm not the one ruining her. His breathing grew rapid. You're ruthless. You really don't care about any of the past between you. Chapter 9. You think you're qualified to talk about loyalty. The moment those words left my mouth, he froze. I continued. That look you gave me at the retreat, I remember it. And in the meeting room when you offered to resign, I remember that too. You weren't trying to take responsibility. You were trying to make everyone think I was suppressing you. His lips moved, but no words came out. I took the document back. You want to replace me. But you don't even understand the company's structure. He stayed silent for a long time, then spoke in a low voice. Does Virginia know all this? She understands it better than you. That sentence stunned him completely. Then why would she? He didn't finish. Because the answer was already right in front of him. I looked at him. You thought the two of you were on the same side. But she never showed you all her cards. His expression darkened. You're trying to drive a wedge between us. I'm just stating facts. He suddenly laughed. A forced laugh. Even so, she still won't choose you. She's already disappointed in you. Someone like you always puts interests first. I didn't argue. Feelings aren't a cover. And they're not a tool. He fell silent. The air in the meeting room felt heavy. A few seconds later, he sat down again. His tone was no longer as aggressive. If I step back now, will you let her off? What makes you think you're in a position to negotiate that? He clenched his fists. Then what exactly do you want? When the audit ends, there will naturally be a result. He stared at me, his gaze complicated. The arrogance was gone. For the first time, he truly understood the gap. Not a gap in position. A gap in structure. He had always thought that standing beside her would let him shift the balance. But now, he didn't even understand his own place. Footsteps sounded outside the door. My assistant knocked. Finance needs your confirmation on a contract. I stood up. This conversation is over. Mickey didn't try to stop me. As I reached the door, he asked in a low voice, do you really not care about her anymore? I paused for a second. That's not something you need to worry about. I pushed the door open and walked out. The hallway was brightly lit. Inside the meeting room, he remained seated, his back stiff. At that moment, he finally understood. He was never a contender. He had simply misjudged his place. Chapter 10. The special audit lasted an entire week. Finance reviewed every original document one by one, internal control, verified vendor backgrounds, and legal re-examined contract terms. When the meeting notice was sent to the board, no one was surprised. 9 a.m. Boardroom. The long table was filled on both sides. I sat to the right of the head seat. Virginia sat across from me. She wore a dark suit, her makeup precise, her expression restrained. Mickey sat further back without speaking rights. The finance director spoke first. Regarding the results of the special audit of the marketing department, we will now present our findings. The projector lit up. The first page showed a cost comparison chart. Within 6 months, marketing expenses had risen abnormally. The second page listed contract details. 3 vendors were found to have related party connections. The third page displayed bank transaction flows. The movement of funds was clear. The meeting room was so quiet that only the sound of pages turning could be heard. Finance continued. 2 of the outsourcing payments were transferred out through related companies within 7 days of receipt. The receiving accounts are linked to internal personnel within the marketing department. No names were mentioned, but everyone knew who it pointed to. Virginia's hand rested on the table, her fingertips pressing hard. This is standard industry practice. She spoke. Channel agencies subcontract all the time. Legal looked up. The issue isn't subcontracting, it's undisclosed related party involvement. The contracts did not disclose these relationships during approval, which violates company policy. She pressed her lips together. That was a procedural oversight. Finance flipped to the next page. 4-2 offline events venue costs exceeded market averages by 60%. Compared to pricing records from the same hotel, there is a clear discrepancy. The pressure in the room grew heavier. I didn't speak. The chairman looked at me. Mario, your opinion. I closed the file in my hands. The head of the marketing department should bear responsibility for approval failures. Given the significant amount involved, I recommend removing Virginia from her position as department head. The moment those words landed, the air seemed to freeze. Virginia shot to her feet. You can't do this. Her voice carried restrained anger. I did not embezzle company funds. I simply used different methods to achieve performance. The results are right there. I looked at her. Performance does not excuse violations. She stood firm. This is retaliation. Personal conflict shouldn't be brought into the boardroom. Some board members began whispering. My tone remained steady. This report was jointly issued by Finance and Internal Control. I'm only making a recommendation. Legal nodded. The evidence is sufficient. Mickey suddenly spoke. The responsibility is mine. Everyone turned. I handled the contract coordination. If there are issues, I'm willing to take responsibility. Finance checked the documents. The final approval signatures on the contracts belong to Director Virginia. Mickey froze. But I executed the projects. The chairman cut him off. You are not the responsible party. One sentence forced him back into his seat. Virginia looked at me. For the first time, there was no firmness in her eyes. Mario. She changed the way she addressed me. We can talk privately. There's no need to take it this far. I didn't respond to the shift. This meeting concerns corporate governance. Her breathing grew heavier. Are you really going to remove me from this position? This is subject to board voting. I turned to the chairman. Please proceed with the vote. The meeting moved into the voting process. Hands were raised one after another. The result came quickly. Removal from the position of head of marketing. Suspension pending further investigation. The moment the conclusion was announced, all color drained from Virginia's face. She sat down. Her fingers trembled slightly. Mickey stood up. What about me? Finance answered calmly. Suspension of duties. You are to cooperate with the investigation. During the investigation, you are not allowed to participate in company projects. His lips turned pale. This isn't fair. All procedures are transparent. Legal's tone was even. The atmosphere in the room was heavy. The chairman gathered his documents. Let this be a lesson to everyone. The meeting ended. People left one after another. Virginia didn't move immediately. She stared at the table, unmoving for a long time. I stood up. She suddenly spoke. Are you satisfied now? I paused. This is the system. Don't hide behind the system. She looked up, her eyes red. You could have handled this internally. I gave you a chance. When the day of the retreat. She froze. I didn't continue. Mickey walked over to her. Let's go. His voice was low. The sharpness from the past few days was gone. The two of them left the meeting room together. At the end of the hallway, their figures looked hurried. Chapter 11. That afternoon, an internal notice was issued. The marketing department would be temporarily managed by the deputy director. The nameplate on Virginia's office door was removed. Employees stood at a distance, not daring to approach. When I walked past, no one spoke. Everyone knew the situation had changed. In the evening, I returned to my office. The sky outside was overcast. A supplementary financial report lay on my desk. The figures were cold and precise. My phone vibrated. It was Virginia. "Let's talk." I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, she appeared at my office door. My assistant couldn't stop her. She walked in and closed the door. "You're not leaving me any room at all. The decision has already been made." She stared at me. "You planned this from the beginning, didn't you? I just didn't stop things from unfolding." Her voice trembled. "Do you even know what this position means to me?" "I do." "Then why would you still do this? A position isn't meant to be used in exchange for feelings." She froze. "You think I did all this for him? You know the answer." She suddenly fell silent. After a few seconds, she spoke softly. "If I hadn't protected him back then, would you still have done this?" I didn't answer hypotheticals. Her expression grew complicated. "You've changed. You just realized it too late." She stood there as if all her strength had drained away. Outside, the sound of people leaving work echoed faintly. The office grew quieter. She finally turned around. At the door, she paused. "I won't admit defeat." I didn't respond. The door closed. Only the sound of pages turning remained in the room. This wasn't an emotional confrontation. It was a reckoning. The position had already been removed. The investigation was still ongoing. The situation was no longer under her control. 3 days after the board meeting, HR formally issued the final decision. Virginia was removed from her position as head of the marketing department, transferred away from core business lines pending further audit conclusions. Mickey's employment contract was terminated effective immediately. The document was calm and precise. No extra emotion. At 10 a.m., as I walked out of a meeting room and reached the office entrance, I saw the receptionist looking uneasy. "Miss Virginia is waiting downstairs for you." I nodded. When the elevator doors opened, she stood in the center of the lobby. No makeup. Her eyes were clearly red. Several employees watched from afar, not daring to approach. When she saw me, she walked straight over. "We need to talk." "Say it here." She clenched her teeth. "You really have to do this. This is the company." She lowered her voice. "You fired Mickey. HR made that decision. You know the contract issues were mainly my responsibility. That's why you were removed." Her breathing became uneven. "Couldn't you leave him a way out? He signed off on project involvement and failed to disclose related party connections. The company can't pretend not to see that." She stared at me, her eyes filled with anger and helplessness. "You did this on purpose." "If I had truly done it on purpose, he wouldn't have just been terminated." She froze. The lobby fell quiet. She suddenly let out a laugh. "So you had it all planned. Step by step you pushed us to this point." "I pushed you?" I looked at her. "Did I sign those contracts? Was the related company my friends at the retreat? Was I the one who brought up the engagement?" Her face turned pale bit by bit. "Stop talking. Are you satisfied now?" I didn't answer. She suddenly stepped forward. "What about the apartment?" The topic shifted abruptly. "We chose it together. I picked the design. And now you just cancel everything like that? The property is registered under my name." Her voice rose. "That was meant for our marriage." "Meant for doesn't mean it belongs to you." Her shoulders trembled. "You're not even going to give me any compensation?" "No." Chapter 12. She looked as if something had been knocked out of her. "Mario, you're ruthless. I admit the contract issues. I accept losing the position. But what about our relationship?" I looked at her. "Feelings aren't a transaction. And they're not a shield." Her tears finally fell. Some people in the lobby turned their heads away, not daring to watch. She tried to suppress her sobs. "I regret it. I really regret it. Can you give me one more chance? It was the first time she said it. No posture. No calculation. Just panic. I didn't step closer. A chance isn't something you only remember now. She wiped her tears forcefully. There really wasn't anything like what you think between me and him. He was just helping me with the workload. Those contracts. I just chose convenience. I never meant to harm the company. My tone remained flat. The result has already happened. She looked at me as if grasping for a final thread. If I leave the company, would you reconsider us? No, the answer came without hesitation. She froze. The last trace of hope in her eyes went out completely. At that moment, a commotion came from the entrance. Mickey rushed in. Security followed behind him. I need to see Mario. His voice was hoarse. His clothes were wrinkled, his expression anxious. I looked at him. What is it? He walked up to me. Termination. I can accept that. But you can't put all the responsibility on me. I didn't take anything. The money didn't go into my account. I looked at him calmly. No one said the money went to you. You were involved in the contract process. The company has records. His breathing became rapid. You're driving me into a corner. How am I supposed to find another job after this? That's something you need to think about. He turned to Virginia. You're just going to stand there and watch. Virginia's expression was complicated. Mickey, her voice was low. You should go back. Go back, he suddenly laughed. I have nothing left now. Where am I supposed to go? Back to the atmosphere in the lobby tightened. He looked at me. Aren't you rich? Aren't you generous? Haven't you always acted so decent? And now I didn't respond to his emotions. The company isn't a charity. If you break the rules, you face the consequences. His fists clenched. You think you've won? I looked at him calmly. These are the rules. He stared at me for a few seconds, then turned to Virginia. Come with me. Let's leave together. Didn't you say you'd support me? Virginia stood frozen. Her gaze flickered. Mickey. What? You're still thinking about him? She shook her head. No. Then come with me. He reached out to pull her, but she instinctively took a step back. That single moment said more than anything. Mickey's hand froze midair. His face went completely pale. So that's how it is. He let out a bitter laugh. I thought you'd actually choose me. Virginia lowered her head. No explanation. He withdrew his hand. Fine. I understand now. He turned and walked away. This time he didn't look back. Only the two of us remained in the lobby. Her breathing was uneven. You saw it. He can't handle any of this. I only ever... She couldn't finish. I looked at her. What you wanted was to stand above, not to stand beside someone. Her tears fell again. I was wrong. Truly wrong. I thought you would never leave. I thought you would always be there. I didn't comfort her. People aren't bargaining chips. And neither are feelings. She cried quietly, like something inside her had collapsed. After a long while she looked up. Do I still have a chance? No, this time she didn't argue. She straightened herself. Her eyes were empty. Okay. I understand. She turned and walked out. Her steps were unsteady. The lobby doors opened and closed. The glass reflected her departing figure. The company returned to its rhythm. Some people went back to work. Some whispered quietly. Everything seemed to fall back into order. Except, some people would never come back. Chapter 13. A month later, the acting head of the marketing department was officially promoted. The new director, surnamed Zhou, had been transferred from operations. He worked decisively with clear processes. In the first week, he reorganized all outsourcing contracts. In the second week, he cut off 3 long-term vendors with poor cost performance. In the third week, he adjusted the advertising structure and reduced the budget by 20%. At the end of the month, the financial report showed that profit margins had actually improved. In the meeting room, the board members looked at the data and said little. Some nodded. The company no longer discussed who was right or wrong. Only results mattered. I sat to the right of the head seat, flipping through documents. The atmosphere in marketing meetings was much cleaner than before. No hints. No probing. Execution was simply execution. After the meeting, Director Zhou stayed behind. "Mario, please review the new budget plan." I looked through it and signed. "Proceed as planned." He nodded and left. The office returned to silence. Outside the window were city high-rises reflecting the fading daylight. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. I answered. "Mario, it's me. Virginia." Her voice was much softer than I remembered. "What is it? I changed my number." She paused. "I just wanted to let you know." Noted. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. "How is the company lately?" "Normal. The marketing department has a new head, right?" "Yes." She gave a faint laugh. "He's doing well." I didn't respond. She seemed like she wanted to say something, then stopped. "I've been looking for a job. I've interviewed at a few places. When they ask why I left," her voice dropped, "I say it was an adjustment. They seem to find out anyway." My tone was steady. "The industry isn't that big." "I know." Her breathing grew slightly uneven. "Mickey left. I heard he went to another city." I didn't ask for details. "Are you still in touch?" "No," she answered quickly. Then added, "He blames me. Says I didn't go with him back then." I looked out the window. "That's between the two of you." Silence followed. After a while she asked, "Mario, do you really feel nothing for what we had? It's already over." "Just like that, yes." She inhaled softly. "Are you still living in that apartment?" "Yes. I still have some things there. I'll have them packed and left with the property management." She didn't object. "Okay." A few seconds later she suddenly asked, "Can you give me another chance?" This time her voice was very soft. No crying. No desperation. Just one last attempt. My tone didn't change. "No." She didn't hang up immediately. Her breathing was clear. "I understand." She said, "Actually, I already knew that day in the lobby. I just wanted to ask one more time." I didn't respond. "Are you doing well now?" she asked. "I'm fine." "That's good." The call ended. I placed the phone back on the desk. I didn't block the number. Didn't save it either. Just a number. In the evening I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in my office. The city lights gradually came on. My reflection appeared in the glass. This past month had moved quickly. The audit ended, the department restructured, contracts renewed. Many people had asked whether it would affect the company's reputation. The answer was clear: when direction is firm, the team adapts quickly. Later my assistant knocked. "The materials for tomorrow's signing ceremony are ready. Leave them on the desk." "Understood." The door closed. On the desk lay the contract for a new channel partnership. Not a large amount, but the terms were clear. No room for ambiguity. I flipped through the last page and signed. My phone vibrated again. A message. "Sorry." Just that one word. No name. I knew who it was. I looked at it for a few seconds. Didn't reply. The screen went dark. I opened my contacts. Found the number. Deleted it. Without hesitation. Night had fully fallen outside. The city was still bustling. The end of many relationships doesn't come with dramatic scenes. It's just a moment, when you realize the other person is no longer part of your future. She once thought I couldn't live without her. Thought the engagement was a lasting card she could always play. But once that card was torn apart, it turned out to be nothing more than paper. I turned off the office lights. Walked out. The hallway was quiet. The elevator doors slowly closed. In the reflection my expression was calm. Feelings are not bargaining chips. Nor are they tests. Some people think you can't leave, only because you once tolerated too much.